Hey, good morning. It's Sunday in Sparks, Nevada. I got to try and get this out because it's a Sunday and people that are walking their dogs and noise and barking dogs and birds and all that can be a distraction, right? And I sort of know how it works, particularly when I get distracted like a fly right now. It's sort of the way that the AI works. Anyway, and I covered that. The title of this one is called Unscripted. I read several things happened over the last 24 hours, which is what prompted me to even do this. The first thing is that I love a guy by the name of John Rappaport. I've mentioned him before, Rappoport. He's a creative Imagineer. Okay, he's been an author, a journalist for many, many, many years, and I'm on his mailing list. And he always sends me stuff that just essentially reminds me of a lot of who I am, which is the individual. Okay? Now, I don't want to get into what's called a psyop or why we the people is important in one sense, but in another sense, when you're already running a high-speed vibration of awareness, you're aware of why everything is happening the way that it is, particularly when you want to try and maintain the peace, the harmony, and the balance while other operations are taking place that most people are just simply not aware of because their state of awareness is in a lower vibrational state. Okay? So the first question that any student or any teacher, if you want to learn, in this case, when we're talking about, if you will, the planet, consciousness, okay, the individual versus we the people, or we humanity. Okay? So for me, because of what I know and what I'm aware of, it's sort of an insult, which essentially means is that we're not all cut from the same genetic cloth. Now, naturally, you wouldn't know that unless you studied genetics. Okay? Most people don't even know the difference between what Rh positive and Rh negative is. Okay? So the difference between those two means that the genetics were monkeyed with. Okay? Remember, monkeys and lizards, mammals and reptiles, and then, of course, you have everything else in nature. So you already begin to realize there's a difference between a reptile and a bird. Okay? They're not the same. Okay? It's just like when I was out here just a few minutes ago watching two ducks fighting it out over food. They didn't want to share with each other. Well, I share everything. That's the difference between a duck and me. Okay? So I know that when I look at other people that look like me, we're not the same. Okay? You run a different energy pattern than I do. That's called an energy signature. Okay? Which means you're vibrating at a different speed than I am. I'm vibrating at a different speed than you are. Okay? So we're not the same. Okay? And what does that have to do with? Why this is a classroom. Okay? So that means that you have a lot of students in here that are from all over the universe. Okay? That's why when you look at the different DNA, and if you want to go to the Andromeda Council webpage, you begin to realize that there are different races or root races that come from all over the universe, all over different star systems. Okay? Okay, and that gets into a lot of, for example, you're on a planet, and as I mentioned before, where you're getting a high-frequency sun, so you're experiencing higher energy than others are. So, for example, in this particular planet, it's easy and it's very quick to learn how light works with a girl on the planet. As I mentioned before, I can take a 7-year-old child, a 10-year-old child, and teach them how the universe works in 10 minutes. Okay? Rather than having to go 21 years through one of the university campuses and you're never going to learn it. They're not going to teach you how this works. Why is that? Because then they can't hold you captive anymore to their system in order to be an energy slave for a corporation. Because corporations are parasites. I learned that through my own experience. Okay? In every sector that I worked in, whether it was the government sector or whether it was the private sector for a corporation, the higher up the food chain, which means the money change, that I went, the greater the shark. Simply look at the salary of a CEO. Look how much that being gets in electrical currency, because that's what it is. Currency is electric. So they're pulling down an enormous amount of electricity. Okay? How much of that do they share? They don't. Because now they can use all that money to do what? Build armies, hire mercenaries, etc., etc. Okay? So they live the whole thing's captive. Why? Because they can't generate any love. So they're not about to share anything with you or us. So that's the nature of the difference between an individual and the state. The state being a corporation. It doesn't have your interest in stake, only insofar as it can train you to be a human resource unit of consciousness in which it can now use you to make money for it. And that's what it is. You're an energy slave. Okay? So where I come from, we don't have political systems. Okay? The individual is autonomous. You are free to be whatever you want. You can do whatever you want. You can create whatever you want. You can imagine whatever you want. That's your consciousness. That's the higher functionality of a mammal brain, by the way. It's creativity. They don't have that. That's why, for example, Tom Althouse, who wrote the original Matrix, which was known as the Immortals, they stole his work. They tried to copyright it on their behalf, okay, instead of what it was, which was his. It was his story. He wrote it. So they exploited him. Then they tried to put him in a psychiatric hospital to basically just take him down. That's what they do. These are vampires. Okay? They feed on your energy. They steal your light. They're fear-based. What are they in fear of? Losing you as what? A source of light. A source of creativity. An asset. So we all answer that question in our own way, don't we? About what it means to be free. So this morning, because there's no coincidences, there I was at 5 o'clock in the morning. It was dark out, and there was a woman all by herself, probably in her late 20s. Come to find out, she just left Santa Rosa, California, and with her kids behind, believe it or not, and come to find out this girl was a light worker. And she said something to me. She says, you know something? I shared with her in probably 10 minutes what I spent, 15 videos doing on here on my channel. And she says, you know, there's no, everything that you just said to me, there's no coincidence in why I just met you. Bang! Okay? That's how a timeline works. That's how her timeline met my timeline. Now she knows. Now she can begin to realize, because you realize with another light worker, we don't want to lose you. Okay? So we have information that we share with others that allows you to be aware of what we're aware of. Okay? Doesn't mean you believe in it. That's up to you. Okay? But I know what I believe because my heart and soul lives through the heart and soul of a goddess. Okay? So I know who I'm with. I don't worry about nothing. So anyway, the other thing that I watched this morning was a video that Robert David Steele put up. Remember the CIA guy I talked about before? And he was mentioning about, for example, President Trump sort of going into COVID-19 status, quarantine, if you will, okay? Well, without going into a long dissertation on that subject, you know, when you already know all the light that came in here, a fence was put up, which means they got no way to escape, okay? Which means the more that they do things to throw at us, to put us in fear, they're going to accelerate the collapse of their timeline, which will increase correspondingly to the speed of our shift to fifth density, which means we're saying bye-bye to the reptiles. Bye. We don't live in no fear, so we're moving on. So there's that shift is accelerating right now. That's why I'm on here, okay? So yesterday I ran into a guy over here from Jamaica. He said, what's the matter with the people around here? They're like in tunnel vision. They're like robots. Don't they have any love and joy and sing and dance and share love that they have with other people? I said, no. I said, this is lower density consciousness that you're experiencing here. They don't vibrate that fast, okay? So that means they're not learning a lot about how light works to attract more of what they are, which means they're not a powerful magnet. They're not attracting a lot of light, which means they're not going very fast. So this is when you get into time and motion and space studies, right? I think most of you out there have seen where you see a figure of a human being, right? And then you see another one, then another one, then another one, then another one. That works much in the same way when you edit video, the speed in which that being is moving through time-space, right? You can see the different images of the same individual, okay? So you have the past self, the present self, the future self. You see all these different images that's based on what? Speed. The speed of the human being that is in motion, which is known as time and motion studies. So this is where we get into how do you become one with yourself, which means no time. Because the past, the present, and the future is based on a time clock. So if you can outrun the time clock, that's called 0 point. That means there is no time. But you got to be going fast enough to experience yourself as just being in no time, which means there's no future, there's no past, there's only right now. When you experience that within your own soul, within your own spirit, within a physical body, then you know that you're in fifth density. Okay? That's fifth density. So that's where we're headed. So when fifth density beings come down here to the third dimension, we come down here as navigators to help others get to where we are. Because we don't run any political systems. Everybody's autonomous. Everybody is free to do whatever they want to do. We manifest, which means, hey, we don't use money to go get something in the store. It's like, you want an apple? Poof, there it is. That means you passed the rules, you passed the classroom. Now that you do no harm because you are what love is and you're running a higher speed vibration, we don't have to worry about you anymore. Okay? It means you learned how to go fast. When you learn how to vibrate very fast, you move beyond the time clock, now you move into a higher density, now you are free to create and imagine whatever you want. And it happens that fast, which means you project, what's reflected back is what you experience in immediate speed, which means your thought speed. Your thought speed of what you manifest is immediate. Okay? That's no time. So you're creating your own reality as you go. So is everybody else. That becomes a huge art gallery mosaic in which everything that we are all projecting, thus reflecting, and thus experiencing with each other is running at a very high speed vibration. That's where we're going. Okay? Now I realize we're going to lose a lot of people down here because they just couldn't get their speed up. They're going to go to other classrooms. Okay? Because this classroom just got too damaged. As I mentioned before, look at the oxygen content. It used to be 21%, it's now 16%. There's so much radiation on the planet right now. A lot of that had to do with the nuclear cabal, super soldier program, all that stuff. Okay? It's just not a suitable environment. Okay? The amount of genetic malformations that are coming about as a result of the radiation, you realize what's going to be reproduced. Okay? A girl reproducing another life form in this environment right here is going to mutate. Okay? Because the purity of the water, the purity of the air, the purity of the soil is all completely contaminated. Do you want to produce life in a contaminated energy zone? No, you don't. Okay? That's one of the reasons we're moving on to fifth density, which basically is known as parallel Earth. But it's within the same Earth plane. The only difference is that the dimension exists within a higher speed zone, okay, than a slower speed zone. So this is why the separation is taking place, which is like a separation between higher density consciousness, lower density consciousness, because we run a higher tach. Everybody knows what a tachometer is, like tachyons, okay? I figure most of you know what a tachyon is, okay? Your state of consciousness, the speed at which you're experiencing who you are, which means the amount of what you are aware of is moving at such a high rate of speed because the vortex, which represents the heart, is spinning light, which is spinning data, which is the event horizon, right? The event horizon. The events that are moving so fast and accelerating at a high rate of speed, you realize you're moving and moving on. Okay? And those that are running at a slower speed rate, bye, we're leaving, we're going home. Okay? So, I drew a couple pictures. There's a time clock. Okay? See how the hands on the clock are? See how the hands on the clock are going faster around the circle? Okay? And then you see the vortex, just like a top, right? The spinning top. Once the vortex in your heart is spinning so fast, you are outrunning that time clock. Time doesn't exist anymore. And on the 12 quantum wave spectrum, okay, that vortex is moving so fast, and it's measured between plus and minus, which means you're going back in time, which means you're losing light, or you're going forward in time, which means you're gaining light, because the magnet that is pulling that light towards you, you are moving so fast, you move outside the time stream. Once you're outside the time stream, you're with us. Okay, that's fifth density. So the vortex in our heart is spinning waveform information in the unified field of all information that exists simultaneously. That means that past, present, and future exist simultaneously. Okay? So you're choosing your time zone. Which time zone you want to hang out in? You want to hang out in the past, which is going in reverse because you're slowing your speed down? How do you slow your speed down? By doing harm to others. That's how you do it. Because then you're losing light because you're losing speed. You want to gain speed, which means get your vibrational speed up. Start showing love towards others. What happens? You're moving faster. Now you're moving with us, which means, hey, we're running the same track meet together. We're both riding the same wave because the wave that we're riding is running at a higher speed. That's how it works. Shorter waves go up and down at a higher rate of speed on the electromagnetic spectrum. Okay? The longer waves are going slower. That's fear-based. That's the reptile brain. Okay? We don't live in fear. Love is the absence of fear because the difference in the vibrational speed is vast. Like 500 million hertz difference fast. Okay? So anyway, what else I gotta make sure I get out here? Okay, so the faster the spin of the particle, okay, the higher the vibrational speed of the holographic projection. Okay? The sum of its parts in density consciousness, which means the sum of the parts that are here. You got 7.5 billion people that are here on the planet, right? They're all running different speeds. Okay? So this is a measurement of how many students we graduated out of this classroom versus how many we didn't. If they can't get their speed up, what happens? Bye. So this is where you got to do the inner work. And when you're doing the inner work, you go into your inner soul, you go into your heart, and you say, okay, I realize all these events are happening. Why are they happening the way that they're happening? Why are they accelerating at the speed at which they are? Because fear-based beings are throwing a fit. They don't want to lose us. Why? Because they feed on our light. They feed on our energy because they can't generate any love, which means they don't go very fast. So they need us. That's why they feed on us. We're a food source and an energy source. That's how it works. They're parasites. So this is how we move through higher density. Higher density consciousness is spinning at a higher speed ratio. That's how we calibrate, essentially, the difference in speed between those we interact with. Just like I was talking to the girl this morning. She goes, yeah, I don't want to be around their energy because they're experiencing what they're experiencing. Who wants to experience lower density energy? I don't. I like to be in a state of love and joy, singing and dancing, playing my drums. We're going out into the surf and surfing on a wave. I'm surfing her wave. That's the way that it works. That was another thing I was going to mention because I grew up near the beach, right? And then I moved to the Hawaiian Islands because the water's pure over there, which means the salt water, bang, the charge in that water is continually recharging your batteries when you're in salt water because we're saltwater biology, right? Okay? So heck, I could be out on the water in Newport Beach, go there at 7 o'clock in the morning, be there at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and somebody'd say, aren't you tired? Are you kidding? I'm in a battery recharging system. Okay? I'm with a goddess riding on her wave. This is cool, baby. Thank you very much. So I'm going to miss a lot of this stuff. I cried like a baby yesterday. So we are aware of far more data-driven experiences. And experiencing our higher creative intelligence of our autonomous imagination. It's just like when I was a kid growing up. Please do not insult me. Okay? I'm not what you are. You are who you are. Okay? It's none of this we are the same stuff. I run a higher speed than you do. Okay? This is a classroom. So, and this is what makes it difficult. They think everybody's the same here. They're not everybody the same here. It's all over the map. When I was a child growing up, I was able to do a calculation to essentially estimate how much light we have in this community. How many people are singing and dancing and celebrating life with love. That's what it boils down to. But when you understand the causation or the underlying causality between what they did with genetics, why all the wars were created, why they put people in the military and send them off to war, is to do what? Slow their speed down, bang. When you got 50% of everybody that went to Iraq and Afghanistan that are coming back and they're gone, why are they gone? Because that recording of everything they experienced drove them insane. Because that's what it is. You kill somebody else, if you're a reptile, it doesn't mean anything to you. You could care less. Okay? But if you're a love-based mammal living through your heart and you've got a soul and a spirit, Okay? That means you're going to experience. Remember, what I do to you, I do to me. That's very hard for them to live with. They did a study after World War II, for example, the United States Army, and they found out that 75% of the soldiers that hit Europe, okay, in Normandy on D-Day, June 6, 1944, so it was only 25% of those soldiers actually fired their rifle to kill what they believed was another human being. Okay? And you know what they concluded from that? That's unacceptable. We need a higher kill rate. So what did they do? They started using pop-up targets where it becomes automatic. I become an automatic machine gun. I'm automatically killing you one right after another. And the more I can kill of you, the better. Who's running this stuff? Well, who do you think? Reptiles. Reptiles want to make sure you keep killing. Because the more you keep killing, the more light you keep losing. Which means they just siphon off your spirit and your soul. Your battery's gone. So that's the nature of what we're dealing with here. That's why it's all forbidden. Love is the law here. That's a vibration. So when you are what that is, guess what? You're not doing any harm to anybody, anything. Because then you're experiencing the harm you do to others. Why would you do that? That's the same thing as harming yourself. I used to think, my God, what's the matter with these people? They're sadomasochistic. No, what it is called programming. Programming, that's right. They didn't know the difference between what is presented to them and what they are when they say, sorry, I'm not what that is. I'm not going to put that into my memory and then operate on what you present to me. I'm an autonomous being. I create my own reality. I don't live in yours. That's the one you live in, because you're a reptile. You're fear-based. You're trying to drain my energy. I'm going to be with the goddess in the planet. See ya. That's a simple version of it. So what I'm going to run out of time here, so I may have to do this twice. But living through the heart is the most powerful accelerator of speed our soul, spirit, essence is experiencing. Okay? So there is a difference. Okay? Rappaport talked about the free individual versus larger and larger information technology communication systems of control. What does that boil down to? Cyborging humanity. I'll just merge my mind right into technology. And they think, wow, guess what I get to do? So again, another carnival barker. Technology is a solution to all our problems. Who's controlling the technology is controlling your mind. That's the difference between a hive mind and we the people and I am a free person in the Declaration of Independence. So you got to sort of sort out how this is happening and why it's happening the way that it's happening. So what is the objective? Their objective. Make humanity, the individual sum of its parts, extinct. They want to extinct the individual so that you can't create your own reality. You experience what they choose for you. That's called captivity. That's a hive mind total control over what you experience, otherwise known as the collective consciousness of humanity. Okay? That's how they lie. They use their word game traps. The collective. Oh, we're all collective. Oh, and they will even say love. We all love each other. Really? Well, let me feel your vibration and see if I can feel how fast you're actually going. Show me how free you actually are to show me what love is. And then you begin to realize that they're liars. And that's why I've always said, they know how to talk the talk. They know how to walk the talk. They'll even look like you, but they are not us. So you got to know the difference. And that's the difference is a core frequency vibration of their soul, spirit, essence. How long they've been around. That's essentially what it is. How much have they learned? How fast are they going? How much are they giving away? How free are they really? Those kinds of things. Those are measurements, right? So anyway, it is the uniqueness actually with me, like when I go to a zoo, even though I don't put anything in cages, but when I'm out in nature, I don't tell a duck how to be a duck or an eagle how to be an eagle. I enjoy experiencing the eagle in its free state because now I get to experience the eagle that is free to be an eagle. How beautiful you are to experience a free eagle. That means we don't hold anything as an attachment. We don't control anything. We allow it to be what it is. It is free to be what it is. That's how it works. Have a great day. I love you all.